Imagine spending decades behind bars, watching the world change from inside a prison cell. Today we count down 10 individuals who served the longest prison sentences in U.S. history. Joseph Ligon was just 15 when he and a group of teens went on a violent spree in Philadelphia. 2 people were killed. Sentenced to life without parole in 1953, Ligon refused to apply for parole for decades, believing his sentence was unjust. After 68 years, he was finally released at the age of 83. Paul Geidel was a teenage hotel bellhop in 1911 when he robbed and killed a wealthy businessman. At just 17, he was sentenced to 20 years to life. Due to mental health concerns, he was never granted parole. He eventually served 68 years, missing nearly the entire 20th century, before being released at the age of 86. Otis Johnson was arrested in 1970 for attempted murder of a police officer. He was released in 2014, stepping into a world he no longer recognized: smartphones, self-checkout machines, and a society that had moved on without him. He struggled to adapt to modern life after 44 years behind bars. Richard Honeck was sentenced to life in 1899 after murdering a former friend over an old dispute. He quietly served 64 years in prison with little controversy. When he was released in 1963, he was 84 years old and had spent 2/3 of his life behind bars. Amazingly, he had no bitterness. He just wanted a quiet life. William Heirens became infamous as the lipstick killer in 1946, convicted for 3 brutal murders. He was just 17 when arrested and later confessed, though some believe his confession was forced. He spent 65 years in prison, repeatedly denied parole until he died in 2012. Frank Freshwaters was sentenced in 1957, but escaped prison in 1959. He lived as a fugitive for 56 years before being caught again in 2015. He had started a new life under a different identity, but his past eventually caught up with him. Sonny Franzese was a feared mafia underboss. He spent over 50 years in and out of prison, refusing to cooperate with authorities. Ironically, his own son testified against him in court. Franzese was released at the age of 100, making him one of the oldest federal inmates ever. Albert Woodfox spent 50 years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement, for allegedly killing a prison guard. He was part of the Angola 3, inmates who claimed they were wrongfully convicted due to racism and politics. He was finally freed in 2016 at 69 years old. Clarence Elkins was convicted of a horrific crime he didn't commit. His own niece, the key witness, later realized she had identified the wrong man. DNA evidence finally cleared him after 18 years behind bars. Charles Fossard was sentenced at 16 and never left prison again. He died behind bars at 110 years old, spending an unimaginable 94 years in prison, the longest known sentence in American history.